My name is Philip Kobernick. I work at Alameda County here, and I run the sustainable transportation projects for the county, including our commuter program. And so I'll be talking about some tips and strategies that you can use to get your employees to pay attention for your employer-based commuter program. So just really quick background on Alameda County. We're a big organization here. We have about 9,500 employees, and they're not coming to one central location. We have about 150 to 200 unique offices. People are coming from all over, going all over the place, and so we really need a decentralized approach to have a commuter program that works in each of these locations, because what works in downtown Oakland may not work for a suburban office location. And commuting is a big deal for us. It's about 38% of our total emissions, so it's definitely something that we take very seriously. Okay, so big surprise, email communications don't really work great, even when you're emailing people who have an interest. So this is just a screenshot of some metrics that we had in our recent email engagement. We have about 500 people that told us they want more information on our commuter programs and to learn more about it, and we got 30% open rate and 8% click rate. So emails generally aren't a really great way of conveying benefits, programs, things that you want people to pay attention to. So we need a different way. And so that is sort of, we come in with employee engagement and getting the message out. So here's our set of approaches here. The first is to get off email and use the networks that exist in your organization. The second is to decentralize outreach. So the message that you're trying to get across comes off a lot better when it's coming from someone in their department, in their team, in their general division or something like that, rather than the clean commute guy coming in and begging people to stop driving to work. So having that sort of relation really, really helps. The third is recruiting allies of local knowledge. This is where our clean commute champions come in. So each year we recruit dozens and dozens of new employees or existing employees that say that they want to get more involved in sustainability at their office. So these are folks that bike to work every day, take transit, just real gung-ho about clean commuting, and they're looking for an opportunity to express that in the office to sort of help become more sustainable and sort of express that value. And we're giving them a conduit to do that by helping spread our program to their offices and pushing messaging out in their language to their teams, to their divisions. And so here are some photos of some of our clean commute champs. And the fourth is to utilize community-based social marketing, and I'll go over a bunch of tips and some stuff on that. Okay, and so when we recruit our clean commute champs, they go through a 1.5-hour training. Again, these are employee volunteers who have said that they want to help with sustainability, and we say, great, let's equip you with all the tools and resources you need to help promote clean commuting at your office. And so we give them a 1.5-hour crash course on clean commuting, things that they may not know, but also talking points and how to express those, basically distilling all that information down to talking points so they can convey that clearly and consistently to employees at their office. And so we've message tested a lot of stuff, and that's what we use for them. And at the end of the training, they do a big skit sort of presentation where they reenact situations to really practice it. So this is an example of someone playing the part of a new employee on the left and our clean commute chip on the right. So the new employee is saying something like, I love to use BART, our regional transportation here in the Bay Area, but I'm worried about using it if my kids are sick at school. I need a car to be more reliable. It's a very common thing that we hear. And so our clean commute chap, adept as he is, picks up on that and says, I signed up for Guaranteed Ride Home. It's like free insurance for your commute. So that's what we sort of drill into them. Okay, so community-based social marketing is a great way, some great tips and strategies to help promote your campaign. And the first tool is social norming. This is the idea that people are more likely to take an action or behavior change if they see other people doing it. Kind of imagine walking down the street and seeing 3 people looking up in the sky. You're much more likely to do that because you're sort of copying other people doing it. It's like our brains are wired that way. So we do this in a number of ways. The first is to feature employees that we want people to emulate. So this is in our newsletter. We have posters and campaigns. We feature them prominently. There's some photos here, and on the right we had a little sort of sketch thing to show off what real employees are doing. And another thing about social norming is that clean commuting is sort of an invisible behavior. It happens before people get to work, so you typically don't get an opportunity to show it at work to make it more visible. And so this is something we did about 2 weeks ago where we had a couple hundred new employees move to a new office location. And so we're in the lobby. We got there really early to get there as soon as they got to their new office. and we had them rate their commute with emojis, kind of showing that the people who drove had a pretty miserable time. The people who walked, BARTed, or took other transit here in the Bay Area generally had a much better experience, and so we're looking for ways to kind of show that off. Another great way to do this is if you have bike parking, to make that really visible. So when you walk in, you see all the bikes that are there in your lobby or somewhere in your office, so you can see, wow, there's so many people that bike to work. Okay, and we've done this in a lot of our commuter engagement campaigns as well. A big one we did last May we called Community Commutes Day, tied around Earth Day. We had the messaging of I'm in, kind of representing that community aspect and the ability for you to want to jump in to participate. So we had stickers, we had posters. Our Clean Commute champs had buttons and things that they put up in their offices. My favorite part of it was the Try a Clean Commute lobby display, where we had cardboard cutouts in a bunch of different offices, and people put their faces in there and took pictures and sent those in. So they were literally trying on a Clean Commute. You have a photo of yourself biking or in a carpool. I don't know, maybe that subconsciously makes it more likely for you to do that. So another, just a couple of examples of social norming again. We have some shuttles that connect BART to some of our offices. And late one night before the shuttle started running, we put a bunch of balloons in them that said, I took the county shuttle today. So that sort of percolated out throughout the county, and people could, at our offices, and you would see how many people took the shuttle because balloons would start popping up. And then, of course, you had people take photos and send them in. Okay, another community-based social marketing tool is called social diffusion. This is the idea that people learn more from their networks and people that they trust than sort of an independent source, and this is really where our Clean Commute champs come into play for us. We're harnessing them to spread messaging, tools, benefits, information through their networks to their departments. And so that's an example of that. And in the recent campaign that we used in Community Commutes Day, this is an example of how they did that. We trained about 20 new people, 80 champs in total, and so we really couldn't have done that campaign without them. That was just really instrumental. And so they created teams across the county at different offices, places we didn't even know about. They created teams, organized potlucks, organized a conga line from BART to their office, all that stuff that we got them to do sort of through us, through our program. It's absolutely instrumental. The third and last tool is public commitments. People are more likely to make an action if you get them to publicly commit to doing something. So we've done this in a number of different ways. We've asked, on a carpool day, we pick a day in the next couple of weeks, and we publicly post that you're going to try to carpool, you're going to message somebody, and we display that publicly. That's one way of doing it. We've done that in Community Commutes Day with those big signs. Those are pledges that people took. On the left, we added a new shuttle line that went from BART to a new office, and so we had a space-themed kind of shuttle launch campaign, and so this is a cardboard cutout of the space shuttle, and employees that committed to trying it when it came into service, when it was launched, they'd write their name on a little astronaut and put it up, and this is in the middle of their office over there, so people could see how many people were committing to try the shuttle when it got started. So quick recap, benefits of doing something like this is that it's really inexpensive. You're using your employees to spread your campaign through them. So it's great for peer-to-peer information sharing. Provides us a two-way communication avenue. So now they're telling us what works in their office. Give us information about opportunities for us to intervene, things that we need to know about that are unique to them. Maybe just that office doesn't have bike lockers. It's a real easy problem to solve. So they give us information, which is great. Empowers their employees to express their sustainability values. We get great volunteers, lots of great photos. And it does take year-round engagement. It's not something you can only do on Bike to Work Day. You have to be doing it all around. And it does take upfront training time for sure. And I think, yeah, okay, and that's it. So I think I got a few minutes for questions if anybody has them.
Absolutely. And our first question is from Hope Cahan, who asks, based on all this research you've done, your understanding the underlying psychology of people, I think it was a great presentation, Philip. And the question by Hope is, what is the annual budget for your efforts and how much staff time does it take?
So Clean Commute champs come cheap. We really don't pay for much. I mean, those emoji stickers that we ordered were like $30. So in general, we do charge a lot of people for parking, and so that is very helpful. That funds our program. By far the most expensive part of our program, though, is providing those shuttle lines at about 6 different locations to connect people from BART to their offices. But in terms of employee engagement, I mean, you can do that really on a no budget. That's the part that's the most inexpensive part of our program.
Fantastic. Is there any other advice that you would give to people other than these top 3 ones that you found really impacts in terms of when you give out some of these incentives to people, or other behaviors that you haven't covered?
Absolutely. So I'm coming from a government employer perspective. So this is sort of things you can do with public funding to engage your employees, which is more limited than if you're at a private company and you can get a little bit more creative with what you can do. So I mean, by far the biggest thing you can do is charge people for parking. When you look at our locations, people that have access to free parking, it's just 30 points off from people who don't have access to pay parking. So that's where all this engagement kind of comes into place in our context, but that's the big one.
Wonderful. Well, we'll send you more of the questions that are coming in, Philip. Thank you for your time today.